to, I don't know, I can't hear myself. What's wrong with this guy? I'm not even speaking. My mic is not working. I'm telling you now. I'm listening.
This is going to be an interesting next hour, Heshy.
You are here. My mic is not working. It's just, he just doesn't care. My producer does not care of what I do.
Is it the ratings, Heshy? Are the ratings dropping? Is that why the microphone's having issues?
The mic was unplugged, okay? And it's my fault, not the producer's fault. It's my fault the mic is unplugged. Everybody from Instagram, welcome to the Just Enough Heshy Show. YouTube and Facebook fans, welcome to the show. And we're going to welcome our live listeners in about 5 minutes. Guys, this show is very interesting. And today's show is a very serious show. Our guest tonight is Denny Hulkower. Like the Hulk? Yeah, it was his joke, not mine. Okay. He is a sanitation man, an honorable man. You know, I love the sanitation people. I've always, anytime, you know, Danny, I see them on the street, I try to run after them with a bottle of water. I take a picture of them. They're just great. The stuff you guys do, the hardship, and I was in garbage myself. I used to stand in dumpsters and stuff, and I appreciate every time we give you a hard time, we block you, or those people beep you and make you miserable. I'm sorry. I don't know how to apologize. I sit there quiet and I don't care what you do. Really, you're the people that I love, and I really love you guys in the sanitation department. And we're going to talk about your mayor, not mine anymore, what he does to these poor people and how they torture them. And you guys are going to see the red tape, the politics, and why I keep screaming and hollering on what they not only do to me and to Tom. By the way, I forgot to introduce my guest host, my co-host,
you
Tom.
might want me to be a guest
right,
host,
so
but I am here.
You people on YouTube and Facebook will see Tom, but Instagram, he's hiding on the other side today.
Well, I think, Heshy, maybe the ratings are down, but I want to say hi to everybody, and good to be with everybody here once again. And we've got an interesting show here today, Heshy. One of that, I think it's going to be a fun one and a really insightful one, because our guest here has got quite a journey, quite a story, and I think it's important for a lot of our listeners out here today.
Tom has done a lot of research on this, and I'm very proud of him. And we're going to talk about, of course, Hunter Biden. You know that Hunter Biden made a deal to get off the hook, and then he took back the deal. Now he pleaded not guilty.
Sounds like the Bidens right there, Heshy.
And he's guilty. He's going to get probate. Now he's going to get off the hook completely.
I need a scorecard to keep up with this one, Heshy.
I know. Just like Hillary Clinton, all of them, they get away with it. You know, everybody, you were all screaming and crying to me, and I'm going to get to you. Don't worry about it, Danny. You're all screaming about voted for it, Heshy. You're stupid, conspiracy. You lost the election. You didn't lose. By the way, guys, November 7th, Danny, I know you don't. Where do you live?
I live in the city.
Too bad.
Manhattan.
Well, Danny,
Too bad
I'm
indeed.
going to win that election, Danny, and you're going to see what I do sanitation when I become a city council. But, you know, you all saying conspiracy theories. They're suing right now the Board of Elections for voter fraud in Queens. Not one vote, not 30 votes. The guy lost by how many votes?
A little over 100 votes.
A little over 100 votes, and there was 1,000 votes that were...
there was about over 1,000 absentee ballots.
1,000, which nobody in the city had. All of a sudden, 1,000 absentee ballots.
An unheard of percentage of absentee ballots were cast of the overall total vote, which is kind of like...
They know how to cheat just enough, guys. This is just disgusting. Board of Elections has to be stopped. And I know as a city official, I will stop them. I will fix this. This has to stop once and for all. Anyways, we're going to start our show. By the way, Danny, I make a quote and a joke to start the show. My co-host never laughs. Please laugh.
What are you talking about? I was born to laugh.
I know, but you don't laugh at my jokes.
That's not true. Well, let's test it today.
We're going testing. Wow, Tom finally is going to test my joke. I love that. Also, people out there should know one thing. I am very serious about mental health. And we lost $1.5 billion, and you're going to hear Tom and me and everybody talk about it, how many times de Blasio and his wife messed up. This week, I'm not talking last week, 2 young men died, killed themselves. A boy went on video. We all laughed. I thought it was serious when he came on with a gun and said he's all alone, he's depressed. He looked normal. He came onto the WhatsApps. He came to the hundreds and thousands of us in our community, the Jewish community, and said he's alone and depressed and so on. And he just killed himself. You laugh at that it didn't bother you. For me, every soul is a pain. Every time that we lose another one, hundreds and hundreds are dying a day. We don't know how to fix it. We laughed at she blew $1.5 billion. But it's not a joke that you blew it. Okay, it's gone. Let's fix it now. We're not fixing it. Your city council's getting reelected. Your Republican leadership, like Ted, Gora, is just laughing so he can put one of his other people in there. You know, our ex-assemblyman, Dov Hiken, by the way, this week went on our WhatsApps. I switched to the Republican Party. You know why he switched? Because I caught him lying. He said he voted as a Republican and he went to vote in a district when he was a Democrat. He lied, so he just switched now. Here's a guy who just continues to change the story. It's not only him. It's all the politicians. Kalman Yeager, Simcha Felder. And those are my local politicians. I don't want to talk about Nadler, the biggest wacko idiot on the planet. Anyways, everybody, we're going to start our show right now. Welcome to all my live listeners right now from WSNR channel 620 a.m., correct, and 1640 WJPR 1640 a.m. and
93.5 FM. How you doing out there?
93.5 FM WVIP. We have with us Danny Hulkower, a sanitation official that was fired because of COVID. By the way, Danny, did you take the vaccine?
No.
No. And he was one of many that was fired. Now, all your mayor says, yeah, we're going to hire all of you back. Were you hired back, Danny?
No.
And you sued them, right?
We did.
Did you win or lose?
We won.
And what happened?
The city continuously requested stays. So actually today they got their third stay, and today was the day they had to submit their appeal.
Appeal. They're appealing. They're going to spend millions of dollars of my money that has to go to homeless, that can go to the sanitation, millions to fight this thing. They have to just take them back. What's the appeal? We're going to get to that. Anyways, everybody, let's start with my quote and joke of the day before we start the show. And here's my quote. And this quote I made for Danny. I don't want to survive. I want to live. At some point, you got to decide for yourself who you're going to be. Can't let nobody make the decision for you. You're going to be tested every step of the way. Have faith in who you are. And Danny, I'm so proud of you.
And I just got to say thank you to you, Heshy, and Tom for actually having me on your platform. I've reached out to every possible alternative media outlet that I can to try to get some airtime for our case. People think that we're back to work, those who know, and then others don't recognize the gravity and the importance of the Garvey case. Chad Lavalia filed one of the most daring cases of this mandate. He actually...
I'm gonna talk about that. Okay. We're gonna do that. Again, this is a gentleman that's fought for himself, fought for his life, worked on our city streets for how many years, Danny?
5.5.
5.5 years, and he picks up his garbage, and he's going to explain a lot to you how important it is, because you guys hear me talk about the sanitation, and you don't see me how serious it is, and now you're going to see how serious our sanitation boys are.
They're the strongest, Heshy. They're the strongest.
Okay.
Yes,
I wanted to say my joke. Please laugh down.
I'm going to try.
Try, Tom.
I'm going to try.
Don't make me jump over there and make fun of your shirt. Pray, eat, wrestle. What is the last word?
Eat, pray, and wrestle, Heshy. So I know we're
not...
No.
Oh, I don't see the first word.
I'll repeat.
Pray, eat.
Pray, eat.
Yeah,
not eat, pray.
I thought it said red meat.
Oh.
Heshy might want some red meat right now,
I
but
do
give
want
us the
red
red
meat
meat joke, because you want me to laugh.
Here's my joke. Me and Linda, one evening, we were sitting in the living room. We were watching our two sons, Avram and Moshe. One was 9 years old, one was 8 years old. They were having a discussion on the family resemblance. And my son Avram, the oldest son, who was 9 years old, I look like mom, but I have my dad's eyes. And I'm just listening at my dad's lips. And I smiled, you know. And then my 8-year-old son, Moshe, says, well, I look like dad, but I have light hair like mom. And then my 8-year-old Moshe turned to Linda's mother and asked Mom, what does Dad have to do with being with both of us anyway? And my oldest son, Avram Anthony, jumps right in. Don't be stupid. Dad drove Mom to the hospital. That was my whole contribution for them to look like me. To take them to the hospital. Okay, you're laughing as a joke.
That was a good one,
It was a good one, guys. Wasn't it a good one? Come on, God's sakes, it had to be good. Danny, there's a case called the Garvey Adams, right?
Garvey et al., yeah.
Now, are we going to beat you? Are we going to... I mean, what do they want? They don't want you to come back to work?
So basically, our case is, like I was saying, Chad Lavalia...
But there's no more mandates.
There's no more mandates. You can apply for the job. You don't have to get the vaccine to get the job.
Do you get 5 years credit?
Would I get? I don't even know. Should be entitled to the time that they, unlawfully kept me out of work. So
Did
that time
they fire you?
They fired us. Yeah.
So you were fired
Fired.
for not taking the shot.
Correct.
He was fired for not taking the shot. Tom, I don't understand. Is that I don't understand.
And especially if you remember during COVID, at the very beginning of COVID, all of the essential workers like sanitation, fire, police, teachers, everybody that was a civil servant was considered to be our heroes. Our first,
right.
remember Cuomo and de Blasio came out
Right.
the very first day and said, these guys are our heroes. We got to salute them. And then guys like this who, again, without sanitation...
But Danny, I want to ask you a question. You're not important. You're a garbage man, so you don't pick up our garbage. Big deal. So we leave the garbage on the street. Who cares about you guys?
Well, that's why we have a union. That's why we're supposed to
No.
have
But
each
I want to
other.
know, why is it important to pick up the garbage? Forget that it's nice on the
okay.
street. Explain to me the health. What you just told me before the show, that if you don't pick up the garbage in a month, we're dead.
You
Hey,
can go your
explain
whole
it.
life not calling a cop or a fireman, but you need your sanitation workers every single day. If the garbage in this city doesn't get picked up, if the snow doesn't get pushed, if these kind of things don't get done, this city will stall. And there's one thing I always believe about sanitation, and this is something that if any sanitation worker is listening to right now and you want to understand the power you have, New York City runs this country. If New York City takes a day off, the whole country may as well take a day off.
That's
if
right.
we're snowed in, if this city is not traversable, everything stops all around the country.
But also my health, Danny. You told me
Well,
that
that's exactly it. The amount of garbage that piles up here, like New York City has to be clean, traversable, and everything has to be moving. New York City runs this country. 831 runs New York City.
831 is your
Is my union. If we're not doing our job, then this city gets piled up in garbage, rats, vermin, plague, you name it. This city will basically become medieval Europe.
And a New York
very
Times
quickly.
article actually confirmed this. It was in 2012. We were speaking about this off the air, that basically if your garbage is not picked up across the city, every single resident of New York City will actually die in a matter of time.
because of the fumes and the
the vermin, all of that,
all that stuff that people don't realize. They think, like you said at the beginning of the show, well, if I put my garbage on the curb, I don't
when the
think about it.
sanitation, if I'm correct, the sanitation department was created in the early 1900s.
Yeah,
and people were dying because of the garbage on the.
They would just leave it on the street.
They would leave it
corners,
on.
There were
people
dead horses
actually-
all over the street. Yeah.
People were dying. Food was content. People didn't live before more than 35. Babies were dying all over the place.
Yep.
When they came out, they started sweeping and cleaning the streets and working New York City. And the sanitation did save out, make us live better.
And that's what I try to get these guys to understand. New York City runs this country. 831 runs New York City. There's no other way to do this job.
But why are we picking on the sanitation? Why are you the last to join, to be hired back? We hired back the firemen.
It's more because of our case. But I was just going to say that what I want for other sanitation workers listening to this to understand, so they understand the power that they truly wield. New York City runs this country. 831 runs New York City. Like I said, you can go your whole life never calling a cop or a fireman, but you need sanitation every single day. 831 runs this city runs this country, we run this country. We have the power to shut New York down, and that is what we should have been doing. But the problem is, there's no leadership left in sanitation, so there's no one for these guys to look up to say, okay, I don't want to get the vaccine, I don't want to do any of this. Why am I being well, your union isn't supporting you. And the problem that we have now...
Why isn't the union supporting you?
Because our union is completely sold out. All the unions in New York have basically sold out their members. The MLC has. They told us, they used to tell us, oh, they can't mandate you. They can't do that to you. They can't force you to take it. And then all of a sudden it was, oh, just take it. And then it was, peace, goodbye. Fired us without due process, without any union representation. They literally just threw us to the wolves. And this should have been something that all the other sanitation workers were watching and going, whoa, 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 whoa. If they can do that to them over that, what can they do to me? And this is the problem in sanitation right now, is there's no real leadership. Harry Nespoli has basically turned this union into, I call it the pinky ring mafia. They're not actually representing us anymore.
Yeah,
They're not.
Danny, I want to ask you what your job was in the sanitation. You were the field guy. You're the one that went house to house and picked up our garbage and made sure our streets were clean and tried your best to take everything with you. But who cares really? Maybe we can just privatize the sanitation.
Yeah, good luck with that. New York City, as we know...
I mean, why not? I mean, you know how they always try to screw everybody, so why not screw sanitation?
Well, that's what they like to tell us all the time. They always like to say to us, oh, you be careful because they can privatize you. Be careful, they can privatize you. Look at the M4, M7, and the Broom Garage building that I worked in on 57th Street. Look at what's going on in SI3 and Staten Island 3 with the asbestos.
Or SI1 that used to be in Jersey Street. There was a big topic for
What does the SI stand for?
Staten Island.
Staten Island. So
It's
basically,
the district.
every borough has a garage, so it'd be like ours is here in Brooklyn is BK,
Yep.
BX is Bronx, MN is Manhattan, QN I think is Queens, right?
QN.
And then you have
SI.
SI is Staten Island.
Go ahead.
Right. So, sorry.
SI1 you were talking about.
Yeah. So the thing is that a lot whenever sanitation workers actually, if they actually believe that they could privatize us, look at the infrastructure that we work with. Look at the equipment and how it's always being, how it's never been efficient. We're the efficient ones. We don't rely on our equipment, but and our buildings are a mess, and yet people really believe that the city of New York can actually somehow bang out a contract. By the time they were able to bang out one zip code contracted to a private garbage company, the garbage will be piled all the way up.
That's
You
the
know
Times
how the
article of
city does
2012,
things.
yep.
Exactly. We know how the city does things. The idea that they could privatize us is ridiculous. It can't happen. The most efficient way to get this job done is 2 men in a truck safely but swiftly getting the garbage up and getting back and being off the street.
You used a line before in the past where you talked about the fact that deep down, the majority of the guys didn't want to take the vaccine. But then all of a sudden, they were talking about offering the $500. And guys were like, well,
What?
you know,
What do you mean $500?
basically to get the COVID shot, workers
They were bribed.
They were basically offered
No.
$500.
They
to
were
get,
offered $500 to take the shot.
and these were guys
But
that...
one minute, didn't de Blasio offer us free hamburgers if we took the shot? Remember that?
I didn't get mine.
I know, I didn't get mine. Free hamburgers and French fries. I made
We weren't sanitation workers, Heshy.
yeah.
But I thought it was fascinating in the fact that, again, so these guys were like saying, your coworkers were saying, I don't want to get the vaccine. Then it was like, well, if I take this $500 or, I got bills to pay. But meanwhile, most of your coworkers were making probably some of the top pay across the city from a city worker. So maybe talk about that for the audience here.
Because the problem goes back to the issue that...
But Danny, a question to you. Did you believe COVID existed?
So my mom is a retired nurse. My mom has been in the medical field for about 40 years, with the last 20 years of her career being a nurse. Every time something would come up, I'd call my mom and say, hey, does this sound like something you learned in nursing school? And my mom would say, no, this is not what I learned. And then she started realizing her friends who are retired nurses also are going absolutely crazy. And my mom would be like, wait a minute, this is not what they taught us. This is not, masks, surgical masks don't stop viral transmission. Vaccines don't work the way they're saying.
Did they make you wear the masks on the street or stuff? Did they mandate?
No, they didn't. They wanted us to, but we didn't.
I know. I never saw sanitation guys with masks when they were collecting. You're working in the filthiest, the vermin and thing, and they want you to wear a mask. You should be dead 10 times over.
Meanwhile, the buildings that we work in are covered in thick dust. The M7 building that I worked in had to be flushed every day with water because of the dust, because the building was so poorly built.
And we have a garage right here by the office on 19th Avenue and 52nd Street.
And it's probably not in any better shape.
No.
The only one that's nice is
I
the
test by
one.
it all the time.
Yeah. So they're so worried about that. But that's what I'm saying, what they don't have their priority straight. Think about it like this. This is an experimental. They talk about, safety and COVID and watching out. Nobody stopped and said, wait a minute. These guys are driving 30-ton trucks through some of the densest traffic on Earth. So let's force them to take an experimental vaccine that causes people to collapse. Does that sound logical? Where is all the safety that they preach to us? Oh, you got to be safe. Wear your vest. Don't do this. Don't do that. Make sure you do. But take this experimental vaccine and drive around New York City with something. And sometimes we're not always driving with a partner. If I go to dump a truck in Jersey, I'm by myself.
Oh, wow.
How long is a route normally?
It can depend. I mean, the routes that we had on the Upper West Side were very heavy. So it'd be like it would look short on paper, but when you see how many piles of garbage it is, then you're like, okay, you're going to fill the truck.
Now, Danny, and don't get angry at this. A lot, I love the sanitation. I never beat my car. I don't scream at them. I know I know the crap that you guys went through and go through. But how come sanitation is not assigned, I know it's stupid, to do only night pickups? Because during the day with the traffic and the people, we torture you as well. We double park, you get stuck. Why isn't garbage only picked up at night?
Well, one of the big reasons that I'm aware of is just because of the noise issues. Throwing garbage at night is loud, especially
for 2 seconds. Come on.
Well, people complain about it. A lot of times, like
and during the day, we don't complain.
Well, that's why the most efficient way to do it is 6 to 2. These guys were actually forced on a 5 a.m. to 1 p.m. schedule, which they're absolutely livid about. They're not happy with this. And once again, I would say, well, if you don't like it, just start coming in at 6. Like you're a union. Act like it. I mean, there was a compromise from what I understand, between the commissioner and my union was because she wanted midnight to 8 pickup.
We're talking about Tish now, correct?
Correct. They wanted midnight to 8 garbage pickup, and the compromise was 5 a.m. to 1 p.m. as opposed to our previous shift was a 6 to 2.
But 12 a.m. to 8 a.m. sounds great. You do most of your garbage pickups. There won't be traffic issues, and even I know alternate side can't be done at nighttime, but still, again, the garbage pickups is so important, and it holds back a lot of traffic. And you wake up in the morning, the cans are put away. You don't have to leave it out during the day.
Yeah, I mean, we do a lot of, like my district, I worked nights, and we used to do garbage pickup at nights on the Upper West Side. And, sometimes it was quieter and stuff like that. I know they moved one of the routes nights that was typically on 4 to 12. But yeah, it's 6 a.m. If you get up, if you do it at 6 a.m., we should be off the street before it gets late.
My garbage people come in the middle of the night. Yeah. I have no complaint. Maybe something's I hear a noise. I'm happy that they're coming in the middle of the night. Next morning, I have no issues. I have no garbage. I pull the cans back. The cans don't have to sit outside a whole day. Remember, if they come at like 11 o'clock, who's there to pull the cans in? They sit there a whole day and you can break and fall apart. You are very right. Very, very. And when you come out in the morning, if there's a mess by the garbage man that, they do make a mess, you can clean it up. Otherwise, you get a ticket. You know that, Tom.
Yeah, I never got really why you'd want guys to be out at like right now 5, 6 o'clock in the evening. With some people complaining actually in our district that sanitation guys were coming at like 5 o'clock in the afternoon, 6 o'clock, and it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense, A, for the people and also for the guys.
It also depends on how heavy, like after holidays, and sometimes routes are going to be a lot heavier, so they have to keep it going on.
I got you on an extra route on holidays, Christmas, Thanksgiving, and the Jewish holidays. But again, how many have them? 10, 12, 20 of those a year, when the whole other year they were... Can I ask you something about alternate side street parking? Did you ever drive those cleaning stuff?
I actually enjoyed it, yeah.
Now, I know we bother you that we park and we don't want to move. And I hate that you give us the tickets because not every one of us can remember or move. Can't we set up, you guys are such a sophisticated system. Can't we set up some kind of an app that says, look, the guy is on the corner, he's coming down, you have a route when you clean the street. So you have to use that route, and then when you finish, you go back. So can't we follow you? If you come and we're watching the app, do we know that you're coming? And once you finish cleaning, we can be able to park our car back.
That's
Why
honestly...
are you making us 2 hours? Does it take you 2 hours to actually clean your route with the machine?
It's actually more because the city has a nice big open window to give you tickets. So if the
I told you.
If the broom comes at if by my house alternate side is 11 to 12:30, the broom comes at 11:10, they still have another hour and 20 minutes to give me a ticket if I'm not next to the car, and that's what it is.
And you've already cleaned the street. By me, it's 9 to 11 or 11:30, and we don't understand. We see the guy coming. If you have it on an app, it's done. He's gone. We can park back again. But how long is a usual cleaning street route?
It's a day, pretty much.
Your whole day you're in the truck? Because you're going different place to place.
In the broom, in the mechanical broom,
And in the winter as well?
If they put them out,
But okay, I like those machines, by the way. I do.
The newer ones are more fun to drive.
I think there's a photo out there. You Heshy in a garbage truck. Was there?
That's right. That's right. I'm telling you, I love my. You guys don't even appreciate people. You don't appreciate what the sanitation does to you when you take your garbages out or when it's packed up. When you have too much. Remember, when you have an open garbage bag in your house, it creates flies and garbage. You gotta empty your garbage cans. Don't save your bags. You guys think it's a joke with these guys. You gotta bag your stuff. stuff. You got to make it safe for them, and this way they're able to take it easier, faster, and appreciate your block. I love my. I love.
I wanted to ask you a question.
Woman, do you check? I mean, now I know your mandates with your thing. Why are you checking out garbage cans? You know we have garbage. We do work in the house. Are they telling you to find bad things on us and to give us tickets?
No, we don't. We don't give tickets. That's our supervisor.
No, not you. But don't you report us? Don't they tell you?
No, it's not. It's above our pay grade.
But the supervisors drive by.
They do it. Yeah, that's their job. Yeah.
To go really through our garbage to see if we threw away illegal stuff. I know.
They have a different uniform than what the guys are.
I know. I like most of our supervisors, but sometimes you got somebody in a bad mood and you're dead.
Well, let's hope that you don't have a ticket out there. But I was curious for our audience, actually, in the fact that you had a story actually during George Floyd, because where you worked was kind of like, I guess, on your route was in the
George
area.
Floyd. Remember, tell everybody about George Floyd. That was that was our big. That's when all the protests really started about the young man being killed by the cops, and we were just protesting here in New York over and over and over again, which was dangerous.
He had an experience in a way. Maybe it shaped you in terms of how everything you felt, but maybe talk about that, what happened, where you were, and stuff like that, because you got caught in the middle of those protests in Manhattan.
Yeah, I got caught up in the middle of it. I actually experienced the riots on 8th Avenue. I have photographs of it on my phone. But the craziest thing is that as soon as I arrived at work, I was sent back out to clean up after it. And
they go out, they riot, they destroy, and we clean up.
Yeah, and I was like, this was right. I live in Chelsea, so I was by 34th Street. I have a picture of me in the truck in Times Square when it's completely dead.
And then police officers you were talking about basically were like standing like in these storefronts with the glass broken, basically just standing there, just kind of protecting, because they smashed everything. The whole of 34th Street was wrecked.
There was actually an incident where one of the mechanical brooms, as you were talking about, a probationary worker was on, she was in her broom and they were riding around her and she didn't know what to do. And I was like, well, you should have just gone back to your district. And she's like, well, I'm on probation. And I'm like, this is your life. I mean, these people are like surrounding your vehicle and they're trying to, do something to you. And you're so scared that you're going to get fired for going back to your district and saying, I don't want to get killed, so I'm not going back out there. Like, this is what happens when unions are broken down, and this is what happens when people don't stand up when workers don't stand up for each other.
It's everything. Danny, may I ask how old you are?
37.
Now, I was told that usually the life of a sanitation, usually they ended. You guys retire in your early 50s because you can't keep going on. Is that true?
Well, it's more about when you get on the job. So I came on the job at 30. I would have been retired at about 53.
Because you had the time, or your body
because of the time.
broken?
Yeah, because you can always get promotions and become a supervisor.
Again, but in the field, how old is the oldest you can be in the field?
I mean, there's guys going out there, in their 50s.
There was famously a guy actually, not to cut you off, but there was a guy famously in Bensonhurst years ago who was still on the job in his 70s. He was like a once-in-a-lifetime thing, but I remember reading.
In the fields, in the street?
He was still doing it, yeah.
But isn't it hard, Danny, lifting those cans up and dumping the garbage and bagging? And I mean, you get tired of it, or is it...
I mean, like I said, people who, if their body starts giving out, they go on and they drive a mechanical broom, they take a promotion, or they just go someplace
Sanitation lets you do that, or they're saying,
I could transfer to someplace that has less physical labor. Yeah, that's possible.
Why would they? Don't they need the people in the street?
That's why you got young guys.
And there was 6,500 of you guys. Is that correct?
There was 6,500 and 16 of us that were fired that I know of. From my lawsuit, there was 16, but I believe the total was something about 40. But I don't know the full number because the city hasn't given out any of the numbers. They've refused thus far to let anybody know how many people were given religious exemptions or any of those numbers have been...
Now explain to me the religious exemptions in the sanitation. You got to explain that to me. You have the same identical job. You have to take the vaccine and they don't have to take the vaccine. You both work in the field. I don't understand how they get away with that.
I'll put it to you in one sentence. Set up to fail. There was actually a famous story in sanitation, I don't know if you heard this, about a set of twins out in Queens who both handed in the exact same religious exemption verbatim. One was accepted and one was denied. Twins working in sanitation.
Why was that?
Because the religious exemption system was set up to fail. I'm Jewish, And I don't know any Jewish person who got their religious exemption. From what I understand, they were categorically denying Jews and Muslims. At the same time,
I had to go send my people. I'm embarrassed to tell you, I couldn't. The Jewish exemptions were not being accepted. So I used to have my people go to ministers and priests and pastors to get their religious. You believe it? A Jewish guy having to go to a pastor to get his religious exemption, or a kid who's going to college had to do that. And it was a shame that they had to do that because, like you said, he was very prejudiced, this piece of garbage de Blasio.
And I think also going back off that, also this community and our neighborhoods around here, even with COVID altogether, I think as we all know now, we're unfairly persecuted. Heshy, you were the guy obviously leading the charge. I mean, look what the stupid COVID color zones.
That's the whole point here, that they come after us, and us people, the citizens, we are the citizens, we the people. For some reason, you guys don't want to understand. You know, today I had a guy in my office, and I want to tell you, Tom, and you, Danny. A guy comes into my office, he says, listen, Heshy, we had a small fire. The air conditioner had an electrical fire. And the firemen came. And then the DOB comes in. And we told the DOB they can't come in because, you know, they're going to find something. And it happens to be the Department of Buildings tricked their way into the building. I said, you know, the Fourth Amendment says you can't come in. No, there was a fire. The firemen said they had to come in. And I showed them a video how I kept the firemen, the policemen, and the Department of Buildings out of another building. He says they talked their way in. When they got in there, they saw locks on the door. You know, you can't have a lock on your door, a key lock in your apartment because they call it an SRO. So these Department of Buildings then issued 9 violations, $1,500 to $10,000 each for having an illegal SRO, that single room occupancy. We said it's not an SRO. The kid put a lock on the door downstairs in the basement. Oh yeah, the basement is illegal. This poor guy got tortured by letting them into the house. The Fourth Amendment stops that, ladies and gentlemen. You got to stick up. Look at my boy Danny here.
Well, there is no constitution.
I know,
anymore,
and so that's my point. They come after us, and we the people are sitting there, and I took out the Constitution. You know, I walk around with the Constitution in my pocket every day. But I walk around with it. I took it out to him, and he says, really? I said, you got to know the Constitution. You people don't know the Constitution? Please, it's not complicated to read. It's not a bunch of pages. 56 so special people died for you. Just imagine your uncle, your brother, your cousin, and I'm not preaching to you. You know, if you don't then complain to me about conspiracy and the government, here, government has you in their place. They can do whatever they want, and these guys just get their promotions and raises for coming after you, and sooner or later they get in trouble. But Danny, you are one of my heroes, and I'm so happy you came on my show. And I'm sorry, and I want to apologize to what the city has done to you.
Well, I actually want to apologize to everybody else because the New York City Department of Sanitation was the only agency in New York that could have ended this. We would have had the support of the cops, but because
your lawsuit is the what?
But even before the lawsuit, even when the mandates first came out and everybody marched across the bridge and the 3/4 of the department didn't want the vaccine to begin with, they had the ability. The problem is that, like I said, there's no leadership. So even our supervisors, many of them, and the chiefs who didn't want the vaccines either, instead of saying, you know what, like in Staten Island, the supervisors are still still like giving complaints and writing up junior guys for little things instead of being like, we don't want this vaccine either. We need to support sanitation. We need to support the guys on the street. If Manhattan, if the Bronx, if Staten Island, if all 5 boroughs had stepped up, all the districts had stepped up together. But the problem is like I said, there's no leadership, and everybody's so... one of the most fascinating stories I've heard, because I've really got into like organized labor and how important it is, especially watching this mandate happen. And one of the most fascinating stories I heard from my time fighting back in these past year and a half was from a guy told me one of his relatives was a union delegate for, I think, public transport somewhere in like the South. Dude was a racist. Straightforward. Dude was a racist. So what a surprise it is when at his funeral, all these black people show up to pay their respects. Why? Because he was a union man first. And he understood that whatever his personal beliefs are, if they can screw over Bob, they can screw me over next. And he understood that. And that is the classic, idea of a union. I used to tell the guys I worked with, you don't have to you're not marrying into each other's families. All you have to do is recognize that if they can do something, if they can screw him over, they're going to screw you next. And I had a shop steward in my garage who said that I got what I deserved, and he wasn't going to fight for me.
What do you mean? What do you mean you got what you deserved?
Getting fired because I refused to take the vaccine. A shop steward.
You also talked about something else that I thought, kind of going back to the word about the fix being in. You talked about the ACLU and the New York State Trials Lawyers Association. Talk about why you say the fix was in when it comes to the New York State Trial Lawyers Association and the ACLU with you guys.
Well, it wasn't specifically with us. It was just in general. But there's a video of me and a group of protesters that I went with to the ACLU actually confronting the ACLU, and it's on Instagram. And
ACLU is
the American Civil Liberties.
Union, yeah.
See,
Civil Liberties Union.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, I grew up in a family that was a huge supporter of the ACLU. Do you know who Dave Goldberger is?
Yeah.
So Dave Goldberger wrote an article mentioned an article in the Atlantic a couple of years ago where he criticized the ACLU, where he said, "You guys, you're not involved in social issues, and you got to follow the Constitution. That's what we're here for." And I wrote to him and I told him about the situation, and I said, "Listen, I'm a Jew. I come from a Jewish family too. My grandmother wouldn't buy a Volkswagen Karma Ghia because she wouldn't buy a German car, despite the fact that she liked it." I said, "You came from the same community I did, and yet you stepped up and you fought." For those who don't know, Dave Goldberger was the lead attorney on the Skokie case when the American Nazi Party and the KKK wanted to walk through Skokie,
Right.
Illinois, primarily Jewish area. He was the lead attorney defending them, and I wrote to him and I said, "Is the legacy if the ACLU isn't here for blue collar middle class workers? If the ACLU is all about putting urinals in women's rooms and tampon machines in men's room and satanic clubs in Pennsylvania, if the legacy of the ACLU is going to end at the American Nazi Party and the KKK, and they won't even stand up for blue collar middle class working people, what are they here for? Who are they really protecting?" And they don't get back to me, but I know these names because I grew up, my family always said, "Listen, we don't have to agree with what they say, but they have the right to say it." And that's the problem in this country, is that people are forgetting that this is a constitutional republic. There are certain laws that are inalienable to all, that we are entitled to based on the fact that we were born in this country. And when they start chipping away at the Bill of Rights, when they start chipping away at our religious freedom,
Wow.
at our Fourth Amendment, even like with,
Here's my boy. That's exactly what I've been
That's why
preaching.
he's here with us.
I know.
this is why I even say to the police, if you're a law enforcement officer watching this, the point of the police is to protect the middle class. You don't live in gated communities with Hochul and with Eric Adams. You're living amongst us. You live amongst the middle class. When the police go out and are wasting their time arresting people for taking pictures of them and
Or double
photographing them.
parking. 8 cops arresting a guy for double parking, but we have murders and suicides and shootings and rapes. This is what we're busy with. I got it.
And this is the thing, is that what happened to us, what happened not just to me as a sanitation worker that was fired, but of all the sanitation workers who didn't want the vaccine and were forced to take it. And of course, many of them have squirmer cards. We all know that. But the fact that
A squirmer card is a fake card, everybody.
So they don't recognize how brutally their rights were violated. Their bodily autonomy. All you sanitation workers who didn't want that vaccine and you took it anyway, you had your bodily autonomy violated by the state.
Danny, one minute, but we know that, Danny, and the problem is I know you're angry about it, but really we had no choice. They took away, like you said, our rights, and if we didn't take the shot, we couldn't go into stores. We couldn't buy food for our children. We couldn't go. I went to a gas station on Bay Park. On Bay Parkway and McDonald Avenue. Big gas station. I go every day. It's a very nice place, mobile. And I went in there, and I go every day. The people love me there. The guys behind the counter, and again, I even took the vaccine. And one car service driver saw my yarmulke on, and he saw me not wearing a mask, and I had a video of him cursing me, Jew, and using every possible name, the vaccine, and I chased him. I chased him. And I said to him, you piece of garbage anti-Semite. And again, a guy out of nowhere who wasn't even near me, just screaming at me on the street that I wasn't wearing my mask. And I was standing outside. Happens to be I did come from inside the store. This is the way they made our city. They made us hate one another.
They brainwashed people. Like you talked about, like going with the mask, right?
Yeah.
They all of a sudden, there was almost a concentrated effort at the beginnings of COVID to kind of program people about these things. But you even talked about the fact with Wikipedia used to originally tell you different things about the mask, and then they kind of changed it over time. Kind of talk about that for the audience.
Say that one more time.
You talked about like the use of wearing a mask,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And basically, like there was always kind of like a way about that. It was kind of said on certain things, and all of a sudden, kind of with Wikipedia, for example.
Oh yeah,
things
yeah.
kinda changed.
The
Talk about that.
Wikipedia article on surgical masks was changed. When I used to suggest to people when the mandate first started, I used to say, go look at the Wikipedia definition of a surgical mask. And then one time I just, wanted to check it out, see, and they actually changed it. And they said that we found out that from COVID, so they actually are manipulating reality. Like I said, my mom was a retired nurse. I called her up and said, is this how this works? Is this how this works? No, no, no. And even my mom was still like, okay, maybe I'll wait a year or so after the vaccine, see what happens. My mom calls me one day and goes, they're giving it to prisoners and they're telling them that if you take it, they'll let you out of jail.
Wow.
There's something wrong there. This is not medical reality.
Have we lost our freedoms in this country? That's what I kind of
Have
feel
we?
like, yeah.
Yes. And the only way that our freedoms are coming back is when organized labor, especially in New York and especially unions like 831, stop being, I had a rabbi when I was in Hebrew school who used to call the television the idiot box. And back then,
I remember that. My rabbis too. Yeah, go ahead.
And back then, you would have to go home and turn on your idiot box. Everybody now has an idiot box right in their pocket. A black illuminated cube where they sit around playing video games, watching sports and Instagram and TikTok. Grown men wasting.
Just not with our show. Just not with our show.
Right now, without you, just watch my TikTok
We're
and
not the idiot
Instagram
box.
shows.
Everybody
He's
else.
talking about every other show but the Just Enough Heshy show.
But, all these guys now have become so distracted by these things that the idea of having to actually do something like uniting together, working together, stepping up as a unified force and saying, no, we don't want this, or no, this is not what we don't accept this. But because everybody has to sit there waiting, oh, is this guy going to do it? Is he going to do it? Oh, I don't want this guy. I don't know. I don't want to be the only one. And then it's, oh, well, our union's not. So it's all become excuses. And the truth is, it's because nobody wants to get out of their comfort zone. The labor movement in this country was not built by men like this. It wasn't built by men who were just sitting around waiting for the next person to act. It was built on the blood and broken bones of middle-class men who many of them gave their lives so we could have the most basic rights, like an 8-hour day, a weekend, holidays, sick time. These things did not come. If the labor movement back then had men like are on the job now, we'd still be getting paid in company script. But
Danny, I wanted to ask you about the rat control. We have something called an anti-rat community day, by the way. Mayor Adams is holding an anti-rat community day of action on August 12th. Are they putting out poisons or stuff on the street to stop this? What's going on with that in our rat? Because it's a big rat. They're saying it's a big rat, and I see the rats in the subways. There's no way they're going to stop them. Yeah,
you're not going to mitigate the rat problem in New York. The truth of the matter is, use the peppermint bags. There's specific bags that you can buy that repel rodents. That's what you're going to do. But the reality of it is New York is a big city. There's the corner baskets are filled with food. There's garbage all over the place. There's food waste everywhere. Look, how much the schools waste. You should see how much the schools waste.
I think about Heshy. All the schools in our district. It's 177.
It's funny to me because I'm in
but
the.
why don't we have special sanitation just for schools? We had that in New York.
We have a school truck, but
we had that in Borough Park, and then Carmen Yeager had a fight with our sanitation chief, and she took away. We were willing to pay for it, $1 million, and they took it away from us because he was arrogant about it. And I can't believe it. They can punish us, right? Those guys can punish us as they please.
What management does, I'm not, that's...
Is there a mental health issue with our sanitation workers?
a mental health issue. No, there's a masculinity issue.
That's it. But nobody has really issues of going out every day, garbage, picking it up, the same thing.
It's fun.
You said you wanted to be a field guy. Why was that?
Why did I want to be a field guy? Because I enjoyed, working with my hands. I'm also ADHD, so I'm constantly moving anyway.
Just like you.
I got that. Welcome to the club, my dear friend. Go ahead.
But to me, there was the most, I liked being able to go out every day, look back, like even when you said talk about mechanical broom, I liked being able to look back in my rearview mirror and see the street clean. I liked doing something that was productive. One of the things I always say about the Department of Sanitation, and especially our union, if you go back every decade on this job, you will find more and more men who couldn't read the English language. And it wasn't because they were stupid. It was because many of them were refugees from war-torn Europe. Many of them came from the poverty of the South. And sanitation gave them an opportunity to have a meaningful middle-class job that gave them and a lot of power. Our union, our RFK senior was once forced to apologize for calling us garbage men. This is the power that we once wielded in this city, where they knew. And then the funny thing is that you go back and more men couldn't read the English language, but the union gets stronger and stronger as you go back. Why is that?
You even mentioned about the state pensions. You think that they might go after something.
Oh, well, they're already trying to go after the health care. And there's a video of me on it.
What do you mean the health care?
So they're trying to force the retirees. They're doing this now. They're trying to the unions voted to slash 12-126, which is the city's obligation to cover the health care for retirees and actives.
Right.
So the unions slashed it. They voted to slash it. So now they're trying to put in a Medicare Advantage. So they want to put in a private service.
Started 2 years ago.
Yeah, and now they just recently got a TRO
but you
on
can
it.
only get those if you're over 65. So if you retire at 55 to 65, what are you going to do about health care?
Well, I mean,
they give you the plan he just mentioned.
Yeah,
so
they
a lot
try
of
to
people
force
that
you
are
on it.
retirees, whether it's in teachers, senate, all the city civil servants, it's a big issue because they looked at it like I paid into this program and now.
That's the thing. The city was obligated, and the union should have been protecting it. And the video of me on NYC for Yourself, where I explained, because it was that Friday morning that the unions, the MLC voted to slash it. And the fact that you have guys on the job, you have two groups of guys in the job. You have a group of guys getting ready to retire who are like, oh, I'm just going to retire my way out of this. And then they retire and like, oh, wait, they're coming after my health care? Well, what am I going to do about it? I don't have union representation anymore. And then you have these new guys on the job who are just so busy with their cell phones and so busy with their sports betting, they have no drive to protect their benefits. These are the benefits that you're going to retire with. And you're letting the city just shrugging your shoulders while you're union and while the city just pull the rug out from underneath you. Eric Adams showed up to the AABS, the African American Benevolent Society dinner. All these guys are running to take pictures with him.
You mentioned Weingartner makes $450,000 with the teachers, and they just don't do anything with them either. You had talked about.
They don't do anything. They don't care, and that's really what it's come to.
I know.
And the sooner that the guys in 831 who are listening to what I'm saying right now, the sooner you stop, judging each other. Oh, screw it. My garage wanted a night shop steward. My clerk and the union and Cliff Street actively stopped. Prevented him from getting it and then people just say, well, I don't care. I don't like that guy anyway. It doesn't matter what you like.
Danny, now they take you back to your job. Do you think they're going to treat you better or they're going to come after you to make you fight, torture your life so badly that you're going to quit?
I am going to bring the wrath of hell with me when I come back.
If what you can do and I can do, I know I say the same thing. I'm going to torture the city. I'm going to be one of 51 members. But you have thousands of members, and we're going to come after you, Danny. We're going to torture you. We're going to make you work harder. We're going to give you bad hours.
That's fine.
We're going to blame you for anything that we want to blame you. Oh, you broke this. You stole this. We're going to find a way to get rid of you a different way.
And that's why if I come back. If the guys that I work with, if I come back to work, I'm going to give everybody an opportunity. I will put myself on the firing line to get this union back up and running the way it should have been. My garage, my district, I will put myself on that firing line. If you guys just don't want to do anything, if you guys just want to be like, oh, I don't want to get on my union's bad side, your union already violated you multiple times. You're on their
This
bad
is
side.
this is who we need. These are the people that we. Danny, we have a caller on the phone. Lenny, we're running out of time, and we put you on. Why didn't you call earlier, Lenny? Where are you, Lenny?
I'm here. Just correct me if I'm wrong with the health benefits. $5 from the federal government if they did that.
That's correct. So there's something called it was a fund. It's a slush fund that the unions, they actually in 2014 they drained it to give the teacher $1 billion to give the teachers their raises back into. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but it's a slush fund that was originally intended for the union members to have. For the unions to have backup cash for it, but instead the unions use it as their own little cash bank. So basically,
What do you mean by a cash bank?
well, like I said, they used it to give the teachers a raise in 2014. I believe it was also used. I believe there's a rumor. I don't want to. I've heard this that it was used also to fix DC 37's buildings. There's been different uses for it. The unions used it for their own purposes, and now the federal money will, if they can get Medicare, because Medicare Advantage is not just being done here in New York; it's across the country. I think Delaware was told their workers, you're either getting it or you're not, or goodbye. Yeah. So this is going on around the country, and there's federal money going into that. And federal money is federal control. And that's why why there's so many to protect these benefits. But the active I don't know. Yes, the unions are completely sold out. That's why I even say why a lot of my guys, I don't want to get on the union's bad side. You're on the union's bad side. They don't like you. They don't support you.
Well, we're coming to the end of the show. We're losing our live listeners, and thank you for staying with us. And Lenny, you see, Lenny, it's not only the cops, it's not only the firemen. They're coming after the sanitation. They're coming after you and me, Lenny. Danny, I don't understand, and I want you to continue your fight. Me and Tom are not going to stop. We're not going to let up. Tom is getting me elected, and when I get there, me and Tom are going to stand for. We're ready. Everybody makes fun of us, Tom, but we're going to win this one, Tom. Tell them, Tom.
Well, we got November 7th ahead. You go to HeshyTischler.com, stop by the headquarters, 5318 16th Avenue, right by the D train in beautiful Borough Park, and come on down.
And look who I got here, the Hulk with me, who's going to defend me and help me on election. Are you going to help me, Danny?
Absolutely.
I love that. And Danny, you're going to see, I'm going to stand tall. I love my sanitation guys. They always are nice to me. They always smile. They always say hello. I've been so proud to have you all along. You're just a wonderful guy. And,
Appreciate it.
And I don't know what to tell you. I feel bad what we did to you, and I just don't know how to. I know there's so many of you guys that we have to apologize to, and I just don't know what to do, and I wish we could make your life better.
I just wish, and you're running.
You're out of work already, but how many years?
Going on 2 years now.
So in your lawsuit, does it compensate you not only for back pay, but also for a time?
Yes. Our ruling had us back to work 6 a.m. the next day with back pay and damages. But
I'm saying also senior, like you get
my
the pension.
seniority, yeah.
So the pension counts. Instead of 5 years, you'll have 7 years.
As far as I know. But the biggest reason why the city is fighting this, and this is what's something that everybody needs to understand, my case set a very dangerous precedent for the city.
Right.
Because
listen to this. Go ahead.
Our case is a roadblock between them doing this again. This is what our case does.
They should do this again.
This is what they want to do. I even said to one of my union guys, that the only reason they're fighting us is because they want to do this again. Our case is also mentioned in many of the other mandate cases that have come out since. If they can overturn Garvey, that overturns everything. This is now the floodgates for them pulling another lockdown, another mandate, because this is what they're trying to do.
What do you think, Tom? Is that possible?
I think it's definitely possible because, listen, we went through a lockdown, we went through all these mandates.
Can they do this to us again?
They want to do it again.
We're in New York, and he made the point before we were on the air that we have Hochul, we have Adams, we have Jumaane Williams, Kalman Yeager, all these people.
I love the way you put Kalman Yeager into with these other idiots. You are great. Tom, you're my hero, too. This is exactly what I'm trying to tell you. But, guys, look at this. And the city council did not defend you.
No, and that's one of the things. Vicky Palladino, Joanne Areola, they don't say. I don't hear anything from them. They support their first responders. What happened when Eric Adams' Project Veritas video? Why did that? Vicky Palladino condemned Project Veritas. Nobody brought Eric Adams before
What's
the city.
Project Veritas, Tom?
It's James O'Keefe. They basically go out and they kind of kind of, they're like whistleblowers almost.
And I watch the videos, how they take secret videos of people admitting working in the vaccines or working in the medical field, stating that it's a lie, stating that even the government, stating that we tricked you.
Yeah, and Eric Adams guy was caught on a hot mic saying some pretty damaging accusations, and nobody brought him before the city council to explain himself. We just continuously, just blindly
because we have $110+ billion budget that he's the mayor for, and people want to get their funding for their districts because what is the common theme, Heshy? We're in an election year.
Right.
All those members.
And I want you to know, with the $4 billion that the mayor is adding to our budget and stealing for the migrants, you know, he came up with a new rule now that we're going to take all the migrants now. After 60 days, we're taking them out of the shelters and we're shipping them all over the city. Not anymore. We're going to live in just in Midtown Manhattan, the Roosevelt Hotel. We're shipping them to Brooklyn, Queens, Staten Island. Don't worry about it, guys. They're all going to be living in your neighborhoods.
Trojan horse.
Yeah.
What'd you say, Lenny?
They're in Staten Island already. They've been here. There's 3 new hotels by the 440 highway.
In Travis,
They're
yeah, it's in
occupying
Travis by the DM where the DMV used to be.
Right. They're occupying 2 of them. Full force, they're occupying them. And then you got the other one on the Staten Island Expressway. I forget what it's called now.
Yeah, by Highland Boulevard. Yep, the motel over there.
And so many of these issues in New York can be solved if, you know, the police recognized their obligation to protect the middle class. And if you see that, and like I said it at a speech recently on the 18th, Eric Adams is a criminal. Hulkower is a criminal.
Yeah.
The police, the law enforcement needs to do something about that.
Yeah.
So what do you want to leave our audience with as we're coming here to close?
Yeah,
the podcast?
Danny,
What do you wanna
let's
leave-
close it out. Give us
Okay.
your statement.
I'm going to get, this is my statement is for every 831 member listening to this.
It should be for every New Yorker.
Well, this will be for every New Yorker, because if 831 steps up the way that they can and they should, then absolutely this will be for every New Yorker. If you take back your districts, if you take back your department, if you take back the union, you take back the city. And when you take back the city, you've taken back the most important thing, the name of our book, dignity and respect. If you recognize the power you have, you will realize that you own this city. If you don't want something, if you don't want to go work 5 to 1, if you don't want to be forced into situations you don't like, all you have to do is say so, but first they have to fear you. Yeah. And they don't fear you because Harry Nespoli
Thank you, Danny. Danny, you've been a great guest. Thank you, everybody, for listening to the show. We'll be back next week.
With Larry Sharp, by the way.
With what?
Another guest next week. Larry Sharp ran for
Larry
governor.
Sharp, he ran for governor of the Libertarian Party.
Correct.
Okay, we're going to have a good time with him. And also have a Diane Sears who's running for Congress.
Yes.
Something special. She's really a fighter. We're going to have a lot of good guests, a lot of people that we're going to explain to you people out there that are fighting for your rights. We just need your help. And don't forget HeshyTishler.com, everybody. Come on back. Play the music, everybody.